Welcome to another episode of Open Chair. I'm the OG Barber Ron, and that's the OG Barber Troy.
Hey.
And we got a special guest. I am Billy Dee, one of the top hip hop artists on the West Coast right now. He's just really putting his name out there, getting out there. He's growing, and I'm honored to have him as a guest to talk about hip hop in the West Coast and just rap music all together. So, no further ado, Billy, go ahead.
Yes, indeed. It's my pleasure to be here, Ron. Appreciate it. It's your boy, I am Billy Dee. We live in the building. I'm with my man, Ron, and Troy, and it's Open Chair.
Okay, Billy, let me ask you a question. So how long you been rapping?
I start, let me see, how can I? Over 20 years, I'll put it like that.
Over 20 years?
Yeah.
So how many albums that you have out now?
I got one album out now.
Okay.
And it's a long story. We can get all into my story with music, but I've been doing music since a child, but really have only been, I guess, pursuing it professionally for probably about 5 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Now, as in coming up as a young hip hop artist, what artists that you really admired? Like, man, I'm really feeling them.
In the hip hop genre.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely the forefathers. I come from that 80s era. When I was a child coming up, I seen Run DMC was the biggest thing to me. Mm-hmm. That was the first blow. Mm-hmm. And from there, just went on to LL Cool J, Rakim, so on and so forth. Mm-hmm. But as far as today, my heaviest or biggest influence in rap, it probably comes from guys like Brother J from the X-Clan. Mm-hmm. But there's a dichotomy because it also comes from Too Short,
right.
Heavy D,
mm-hmm.
And guys like that really laid it down in the late 80s and early to mid 90s.
Oh, okay. Now, Troy, you can jump in here anytime you like that.
No, we also told Billy before we came on about early rap.
Yeah.
Rappers that like Sugar Gang. 'Cause I went to high school with Master G. And I was telling him how back in the day, you didn't hear a lot of profanity. And they didn't use the N-word, the B-word, the H or the W word.
Yeah.
And it was happier music. Mm-hmm. It had a positive vibe to it. Had positive messages to it.
Right.
Grandmaster Flash, KRS-One, people like that.
Yeah.
And it kind of, not to blame the West, it kind of came out to the West Coast and changed. Kind of got real negative real quick.
You know what? I think that in the early stages of when it was called rap, that me and Troy, that's our age. That's our group. It had a message. Exactly. It wasn't glorifying the negative things that was happening in the community. It was just showing a light to it that it's not being looked at.
Exactly.
Not only just the problem, just how the problem became the problem. Right. You know what I'm saying? And it had some solutions to it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So my thing is, does hip-hop has a responsibility not only to shed light on the problems within our community, but also shed some solutions to the problem, or it's just hey, I'm just doing my thing and that ain't my problem.
Some would say hip hop is part of the problem, because in the equation of life, if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem.
Yeah.
It's in the middle ground.
That's true.
As with most things in life, the answer is yes and no. It's on the individual to take up the responsibility.
It's on the okay.
Because to a large degree, rap, hip hop is entertainment. I do understand what you said about the West Coast influence, mm-hmm. because it became more street oriented and more reality oriented, because the early, what we call now gangster rappers, mm-hmm. they didn't call it gangster rap. Mm-hmm. They called it reality rap. Mm-hmm. If you ask Ice-T or any of those OGs like that, they'll tell you it was called reality rap. And when you go back and you listen to those early, what they call gangster rap days, mm-hmm. those songs had those street elements that we look back and look down on. But when you really listen to those verses, it was reality. Mm-hmm. Ice Cube was really telling you what it was like mm-hmm. in that situation. He may not have been the biggest gangster, but he was observing.
Okay.
So he's telling you from that standpoint. Ice-T at the same time is telling you some reality. 6 in the morning, feds at my door. Mm-hmm. That's a reality for some of the players that he dealt with.
Let me ask you this question right here, Billy. So let's get into your album.
Yeah.
What's the name of your album?
Current album out right now is called Abundance.
Abundance.
Yes.
You know, just the title itself, it has more of an empowerment by itself. Abundance.
And it's
Yes.
positive. It's
It's
positive.
positive.
It's
Yes.
positive.
You
We
know,
all want abundance.
You know, I ain't saying that a rapper got to be Father Joe Blow. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
People don't want to be preached to, but you have to figure out some kind of way to get the message to them where they can connect to what you're saying.
Yeah.
You know, we had a discussion. You know, me and Troy, we always talk all the time. Snoop Dogg can reach a group of people that Pastor so-and-so can't reach.
Facts.
You feel me? And he has to understand, we all in this together, whether we want to be or not.
Yes.
We in it together. Your education won't get you out of it. Your money won't get you out of it. Your status in society will not get you out of it. If you're African American, you will feel that whip eventually.
Oh yeah.
You know, you might.
yeah.
Oprah, even the biggest Oprah is, she felt that whip. Remember when the stuff with the cows and
Yep.
she said something about the beef? They spanked her. You know what I'm saying?
Everybody
So-
get that wake up call.
So let me ask you a
As
question.
Ron would call that Negro wake up call.
There you
that,
go.
That Negro wake up call is cold.
That's a real thing.
Ooh-wee.
That's a real
that
thing.
thing make you wake up.
Because
you
the
don't know
bottom
what happened.
line, like
It's
Ron,
worse than
like
cold
you were
water in the
saying,
morning.
Yeah, for real.
On your
For
face.
real. For real.
nobody can see your status, your education, your status in life. They see only the first they see is your color, your skin.
Right
color.
off the bat.
and and we're judged by that.
100%.
We-
So Billy, on your album, what song would you say is the most like song that you're proud of, song that you think that, hey man, eventually I would want some young kids to hear this? I know you got a little son and shit.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. It would be the song that the album is named after. The song is called Abundance, and the album and the song came from what I needed at the time with the album, and what I wanted to break open, and me being a grown man at this time, making this album, having an understanding of myself, having a little bit of an understanding of the way that this reality that we're in works. I wanted to speak something into my own life, and knowing that the power of life and death is in the tongue, whether you're a Bible believing Christian or not. We've seen too many of our hip hop legends speak their way out of this life through their music almost.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so
agree
I
with you.
wanted to do something different. I wanted to speak some life into myself and into anyone listening. I wanted to do that for them. But I am a believer that you do want to mix the holy with the profane.
Let me ask you a question. So why do artists feel like the more grimier their songs are, the more they want to push it?
There's a segment of people who
Before
want
you
it.
answer that question,
Yeah.
do you think they have weaponized hip hop against the African community? Not only just in America, just throughout the diaspora of
Yes.
just being African.
100% it has been weaponized. And that's what I wanted to say when I said the answer is yes and no, whether or not hip hop is the problem or contributing to the problem. I think that it is the entertainment, but some of us entertainers can take up a responsibility to speak different things. And I think that's the part that's missing. It's not that everything is negative. It's that there's no one with a voice speaking strongly truth to power, positivity, and upliftment. There's no counterbalance in the game. I think that's what's missing. And so there's always going to be the dark side. There's always going to be the light side. There's always going to be a dichotomy and a duality to all things.
Do you think the dark side is dominating hip hop?
It is dominating the commercial side of hip hop. It has been, like you said, weaponized. It has been commercialized and incentivized by influencers from outside of our culture, that this is what sells. Bottom line.
Yeah, you're
Hey,
right.
you can say all that, but listen, this is what sells. And they got the numbers to go along with it. They got the analytics. So when they sit young rappers without self-knowledge, they're going to sit down there. And if you want to ask questions and think you're smart, they're going to pull out some paperwork and show you numbers.
Billy, you said two terms I want to speak about. You said first, speaking truth to power and self-knowledge. We have to start speaking truth as power. Because when you say I speak truth to power, you're giving them the power.
Right.
When you speak truth as power, you control the power.
Yeah, I like that.
Speak truth as power.
I like that.
Truth, self-knowledge.
Yeah.
Because not what you call is what you answer to.
Yeah, you're absolutely
Most
right.
religious practices, spiritual practices tell you to thine own self be true. Be true to thine own self. most of us don't know who we are. Since we don't know who we are, we can't be true to ourselves. That's why we can't speak truth as power, because we don't know the truth.
Yes.
That's step one.
And Troy, that's great that you brought that up. So I was just listening, and I have not heard a rapper speak about the killings that took place in Buffalo. Not one. I ain't heard 50 Cent. I ain't heard no rapper who has a platform.
Yes, that's
speak
it.
on
Right
nothing of substance. So, you have to start looking back. I just watched it the other day. I don't know, Troy, if you saw this right here. The preacher got robbed at his church. Did you see that? Yeah.
Yeah,
somewhere
in
in New York
the Bronx
or
or Brooklyn. Yeah, I saw that.
And they came in there with young brothers.
Yeah.
I ain't gonna call them brothers. Them some other cats.
Yeah, uh-huh.
They came in there and robbed the preacher. So me and my son. You've seen my son before. He was like, "Well, Dad, the church been robbing people." I said, "Individuals have, but the church has been sacred within the black community.
Yes.
So we have to protect it. We have to look at that as a downfall. Come on, man. That's the last structural environment that we have as African people."
That's almost like cursing at your parents.
Yes.
There's certain things you just don't do. You
Yes.
don't rob the preacher in church. Certain
Come on,
things
man.
you don't do.
They
You don't
laid
curse.
him down, took his jewelry. Now, don't get me wrong. The preacher was a flashy type of preacher. I had never even heard of him before, but they ran down his style of preaching and his bling bling and this and that right there. But I think what happened is young cats have lost the respect of preachers, because preachers now, you can't tell a preacher from a pimp now.
Right.
If you turn the music down and just look at it, you think the preacher is a rapper or something. He in there with gold chains and
That's
you
real.
got Kanye with his evil choir.
Oh man.
You know what I'm saying? You have all these things
Evil
out
choir.
there now that's normalizing everything. You can't.
Right.
I mean, you can't tell what's what now.
Yeah.
Back in the day, you could tell a church song when you heard it, but now you got. They took one of the rap songs and made it a church song.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, like I told you, that kind of goes back to something I had said in passing, that there is a movement, and there is a place for mixing the holy with the profane. The problem is that
How
can
can
be
you mix it,
overindulged. What I mean is that we're whole human beings, and so there are parts of us that are altruistic and what we would call higher self, but there's also parts of us that are lower self. So while we do want to speak to the more righteous things for our community, we got to remember that as a community, we still like to get down.
Right.
And and when we get down, we get down. So sometimes that voice comes. Both things are being spoken in some cases, but some things are being emphasized by
I agree
the
with
infrastructure that this business is. The business side takes over and highlights certain voices so loudly that you would not hear the other voices. There's a lot of young rappers and sisters coming out with body positivity. They're fully dressed. They're talking about spiritual things and upliftment, but we don't see them. We see Cardi B. We see Meg. We see these other ladies.
So that's where the industry is pushing for us with what they want to show.
And the
about
problem in our community is we love name brand. We love something that's co-signed and sanctioned by the major corporations, by them people.
I agree with you.
And so the rap industry has two sides: the commercial side or what they call the major big leagues, the labels, and then there's the independent game. We focus so little on the independent as the community, highlighting, sharing the music, borrowing the CDs or sending the files. We don't do that like we used to. There was a real ground, what they call it, grassroots music movement back in the day where it was shared among us, and artists got hot off of word of mouth.
Let me ask you a question.
We don't do that as much anymore. So those of us in the independent realm, with the voice to speak on those things, we're not being heard because brothers only want to go to the station or go to this channel, these sanctioned places to find hip hop, and they're all saying the same thing.
Do you think, as an African American male, we are addicted to self-hatred to the point where it's hard for positive, constructive rappers to come through and connect with the people?
Yeah.
What's the little young rapper name? I used to, me and Troy, we of the age that I hardly ever listen to rap. You
Yeah.
know, my son introduced me to new rappers.
Okay.
To keep it real with
Yeah.
you. You know, I had never even heard of Nipsey until Junior introduced me to him.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And when I first heard him, I didn't like him. I said, oh man, he's garbage.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But as Nipsey, when I listened to the what's the name of that album? Victory album.
Victory Lap.
Victory Lap.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, you know, he's trying to say something. And then I started doing a little research on him. I started seeing the books that he was reading.
Yeah.
You can't read those books and remain the same Negro
Right.
after reading those books. You just can't.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you can't unsee something you've seen.
Yes,
Once,
that's true.
see, once you come out of darkness, it's hard to go back and close your eyes.
Right.
Yeah, that's real
One
talk.
thing, if you don't know, you don't know.
When I
Right.
seen,
But once you
when I seen
find
the
out,
list of books that he was reading, when I seen the message to the black man, I knew. I said, "Oh, okay, that's an eye opener." Because when you listen to read the book of the message of the black man, it brings on a responsibility that we as African men now have develop a negative attitude towards. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, like a Charles Barkley when he said, "I ain't no role model."
Yeah.
That comes with the position that you're in, whether you want to be or not. That's
it's
people
just
are looking
like
up to you.
It's just like in
Yeah.
politics.
Yeah. You can't help that.
Yeah,
If politicians won't identify something as a problem, see, they don't identify as a problem, they don't have to solve it.
Yeah. Benign neglect.
What Ron is saying, if we don't take responsibility, then we don't. That's not ours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't
real
own
talk.
up. But see, in our community, manhood is based on responsibility.
Yes.
It's not until you get that personal sense of responsibility you become a man. Like
Yeah,
you got
that's
15-year-old
real
men,
talk.
you got 30-year-old boys. It's when you gain that personal sense of responsibility.
Yeah,
If
that's
I
right.
see something out of order, it's my responsibility to put it back in order.
You know, I just saw that movie, the Jordan Peele movie.
Nope.
I didn't see that.
Okay, you know, they had like, you know how they have the movie premieres before, like the little trailers of different movies. They had this movie coming out with these black women being fighters, like African fighters, right? And I said, you know, that's a feminist movement to degrade black men as masculine brothers. You feel me? Because I was saying to myself, okay, you have all these black men in this film. I don't know if you saw the trailer of it,
Not
Troy.
bad.
You saw the trailer of it yet?
I've seen that trailer. Yes.
You know, and I said, okay.
I'm trying to remember the
They'll put it-
actress' name. She's
Viola
Viola
Davis.
Davis. Yes, that's it.
And I said that's a part of emasculating the black male, to making him look weak, where the woman has to defend him, and that shouldn't be. You don't see no movies of no other race of men that the women are defending the men.
There's
The
a
women are more masculine.
there's a
than the men
problem
are.
in media in general where, again, both things are true. There were, in our African lineage, that part of our culture, there were many female warriors who held it down.
that joined into the fight.
That joined into the fight, and some, they you know, they were there for that purpose. When it's highlighted in the feminist way that everything is going today, it's highlighted to the detriment of the man, whether the black man in this case. And so those are true stories, and those are real parts of our history that should be honored, but with perspective. I think when these movies come along and they're steered by certain groups outside of our culture, the elements of the story get twisted and perverted to be an agenda message. So this is a women empowerment. And it seems like in Hollywood, whenever you want to empower something, you have to downgrade the other thing.
It's the win-loss scenario.
Yes.
It's the win. For somebody who wins,
Yes.
but has to lose.
Yes,
But
and they have to make it. They draw this clear line. This is up. This is down. And so if women are up in a movie, the black men have. If the black women are up, the black men have to be down and have to.
That's
you
part
know.
of what's wrong with society in general. There's a thing as a win-win situation.
Yeah, there's no
There is
balance and
There's
perspective.
a win-win situation. Nobody has to lose. See,
Right.
that creates conflict.
That has to do with the highlighting of
Oh, yeah.
certain elements of the
And-
message.
Yeah,
So
I
it's
agree
it's
with
and I don't know how much control any kind of black person was in those types of films, but I find this is a reoccurring thing.
You know, okay.
in these types
that's
of
great
movies.
you bring that up. So I'm watching the movie, right, and I just see how I don't know the dude name, the big guy. With the big eyes in Jordan Peele movie. You know his name.
Oh,
He's a
no,
British actor.
Yeah, I don't know the brother's name.
You know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking
I didn't
about.
see him.
He got big eyes, so he played in Get Out.
Yeah.
From the one that was crying in the chair.
Yeah, from the UK, yeah.
Okay, so they had Keke Palmer more masculine than him.
Yes.
They had her, she was I don't want to give the story out, but they had her as a male.
Yes.
So she was openly gay, and she was aggressive to women and different things of that nature. So I was saying to myself, me and my wife who was watching, I said, you know what, this is crap. I'm just saying to myself, I'm looking at them continually socially engineering a behavior to our young girls.
And that's not the first time that brother's been in that position.
No.
That same actor, Daniel Kaluuya, I believe his name is. He played the same thing in Black Panther.
Yes.
He was a warrior, but his girl was a warrior, but she was more badass than him.
Yeah. And the other movie, what's
and
the
even
name?
Get Out.
Get Out.
He ended up in a situation following after the female lead or the female character.
What was that damn movie? They they was on the run.
Oh yeah, I've forgotten it. They got shot down. Yeah, I can't.
They was on the run.
I remember the airport scene. They were.
But they do this, and you're right. That there's a reoccurring message about black women being masculine.
No.
They push that a lot.
Now let's get back to you two. Okay, so you doing acting too,
yes,
as well as artist, entertainment, rapper. Yes. So let me ask you a question. So how many black production companies that are producing movies that you know of?
There's a lot of there's a lot of them out there.
10, 5?
You'd be surprised, man. There's a lot of outfits out there that are black run. I don't want to say black owned in every case, but black run, and we know that black run and black owned can be two different things.
Right.
But you know what I'm saying. But there are a lot of black filmmakers out there. But how much control they have over the messaging, it is something we have to ask ourselves a question about, because one of the most latest things, I don't know if you were planning to get to this, but I just saw it on Twitter today. Some white girl has come out. She did a remake to that song. You guys may not have caught on to this, but there was a song called "That's Not Atlanta" or something like that. And so this was originally done by some sisters talking about, trying to make a distinction about what Atlanta is and what it isn't. Well, now they've come out with this new white girl. She's redone the song. It's got millions of views on Twitter right now. And what it is, it looks like it has become a promotional tactic for the new show by Issa Rae, which is called Rap Shit. And it's actually literally called, it's got the exclamation mark in place of the I in the word shit, but it's called Rap Shit, and that's what it's called. And they are using a black show to promote a white star. And they do that quite a bit. In Living Color, the biggest star off of that was Jim Carrey. So sometimes black run and black owned can be two different things.
What's her name again? Issa
Rae.
Issa Rae. I didn't like her because she said a lot of negative things about black men. Because I was watching some little interview she did, and she said a lot of negative things about us. And my thing is, when you have a platform that big and you say such degrading things about your father, about your brother, about your uncle, about your nephew, you feel me, about other black men, it has a different a little punch.
But it also could speak to, why she's in the position she's in.
Yes.
I mean, I don't want to put that on her, but she also has an immigrant background.
They reward them.
And immigrants tend to look at black people a little bit differently than we look at ourselves. A lot of times the immigrants, before they get here, they get talked to by their parents about hanging with us.
I had a shop in Houston, right? And next door to my shop was an African braid shop. And that was the first time I ever had a conversation with African women. You know what I mean? And she told me, she said, well, Ron, you guys do a lot of things that we don't do culturally. I said, but you know what? I told her, I think her name was Mama. And I told her, I said, look, I said, they portray negative images of us around the world. So when you come in contact with us, it's like you already have your guards up. you label all of us to be the same. It's like a pit bull.
Yeah.
You know, when you see a pit bull, oh man, that's a pit bull. But in reality, Cocker Spaniels do more biting than pit bulls.
Chihuahuas too.
It's nurturing over nature. It's nurture over nature. That's taught. So I think that we as American black people, African Americans, however you want to say it, I think we're the victims of the same propagandizing. I think sometimes they're being black immigrants in the diaspora are being fed a message about the American black man and woman. But it's not true. Only one side of the conversation is being highlighted.
All immigrants have been told about.
100%. I'm focusing on the ones, but yeah, exactly.
All of them are told.
Exactly. But that's not that. It's true. Some of what they're seeing is true, but that's not the whole story. And I feel the same way about the issue with gangster rap and hip hop. Is there's more messaging out there. The counter message is out there. But one message is being highlighted so broadly over the other that it almost it creates a silence in a pocket. But there's brothers out there speaking, and trying to build up the inner community and trying to put it, and even brothers in the mainstream are trying to slide it in there. But you can tell that these things are being filtered by the office. Well, at the office, when those masters go in, there's a meeting sometimes about what's in these records.
This is what we want you to say.
Yeah, this is too much on this. We prefer, and sometimes you'll send in 40 songs for a 12-song record, and then you got to cut down. So they know you got more records, so they'll say, this record that may have a little message in it. Oh, commercially we feel like we should go with this song. I think that so they push you in another direction with these numbers and with this hanging money and all this and that and commercialism. And so I think the voices that are being highlighted and emphasized are the ones that they want for us to be victimized by.
Speaking of that, I was watching the thing the other day, and they had he looked Hispanic. He wasn't African American, and he was trying to use the N word.
Man, they be slinging.
And the girl checked him, and he called himself going off on her. So I was saying to myself, as an artist, how do you feel about other races trying to use the N-word? Yeah,
that's an interesting question. If I'm asked my opinion, I don't think it's cool. But I would say like this. Here's how I feel about the N-word, as far as our responsibility with it, because it's. I feel like that's the one thing that was put on us as an insult that has turned the rest of the world upside down. And it's like that cornerstone, it's like that rejected stone that's now become the cornerstone. The N-word was meant to be an insult and a belittlement of us, but it has become, in a backwards way, it has become a crown of power, because we get the right to determine how that word is used if we speak loudly enough. And right now, the main voice of our people is that in certain segments, that word is accepted. In certain segments, it is not, amongst us. One thing's for sure, though, if I could finish this part, is amongst us, the N-word is never accepted coming at us from one who was not of us. So I think that's the understanding is, no, we own that word. We determine how it's used. You can't use that freely if you're not. You can't, yes. And I believe that the pass is not transferable. A brother can give a pass, but the pass is not transferable. So if you out there listening to the sound of my voice and looking at me, it's your boy Billy Dee here, and you want to use the N-word, and your black friends around you, they cool with it, they cool with it. Exactly. Please know, when you go other places, other people ain't going to be cool with it.
Exactly. No, that's word to war.
Yeah. Yes, and you got to understand that these are the rules. You don't own that word, we own that word. Yeah. So if we around and we allowing you to say it, please feel privileged. Exactly. But know that you can't just take that. It's not your right. It's a privilege. I explained. It's not a right. It's a privilege if you are given that blessing to say it around some of us. I was telling, but all of us ain't with that.
I was telling Billy before we started recording that I worked in 2 Mexican shops, and they were all like my kids' age, and they used the N-word on each other like it's going out of style. Yeah. And I explained to them, I'm from a different generation. I don't play that. Yeah. Y'all can call each other anything you want to, but if you ever make the mistake and call me that word, I'm gonna break your jaw. There's no option. Yeah, it's just gonna happen. Understand it.
My personal thing, real quick, is if you a nigga in the streets, please be a nigga when you go home to tío, to tía, to abuela. Please be a nigga at home with your big brother who belongs to a SA gang or something, please still be a nigga around him
Exactly.
too.
No.
Because we don't get a choice when to not be a nigga. You know what I'm saying? We don't get a choice when to turn that off. You go in the house and
That's
leave
true
that
talk.
whole part of your convo out, and then come out and all of a sudden it's nigga again. That's not cool.
Check this out. When they go fill out the application, you think they're gonna check us?
Well, half the time they gotta check white before they can even check Hispanic.
They're gonna check white before they check
They have
Hispanic
to.
or black.
At 100%.
Now the thing is, right here, when you don't have no. See, me and Troy, our era, we came up. If you called me the N word,
It's fight
in
time.
the 70s,
I'm already know.
we finna go to war.
I'm already, and my pops.
Nobody black gonna call you the
My
N
pops
word.
didn't
That's
even like
cussing
black.
words.
My pops didn't even like black,
You know,
let alone the
And
N word.
I can understand
You
that.
really in trouble.
only time really African American came about is when Jesse Jackson. He introduced African American. He was the very first one.
He
did
co-signed
that.
it.
Yes.
He didn't even create that,
He
man.
didn't create it. I don't know if he created it.
He didn't
or not,
create that.
but
He
was the
co-signed
first
it.
one
He was
that I
that
have
face.
heard say it here in America.
He was the O.J. Simpson of the N-word.
Yeah.
He sold it to us.
No, not the N-word.
Not the N-word. I'm sorry.
African
African American. He
Yeah.
sold it to us.
Yes. Now my thing is this right here. When you have, I had got into a conversation with a guy in Texas. He was letting the white boy call him the N-word, and I was finna go to war with the white boy. And Ron, he cool. I said, look, bro. I said, man, I don't know how y'all get down here. I said, you say the N-word from in front of me, I feel insulted.
Yep.
I said, well, what would you find racially offensive if he can call you an N-word? I said, call him something negative. Call him a white trailer trash and see do he respond positive to it. Or call him a beaner and see do he respond positive to it. So why would you accept it from him? I said, we still can be cool, but you called me the N-word. I don't even want black people to call me the N-word.
Listen, here's the thing. This is what we gotta understand. Now we gotta be balanced, and we gotta know that some of these people are victims of that same propagandizing I've been highlighting. Some of them are so ingrained in our culture, observing our culture.
The worst
Observing,
part
they
of
play our
That's
music.
not our
No,
culture, though.
not even the worst parts. All of it. These people, they consume black media like you wouldn't believe, good and bad. And so, to a degree, a lot of these people's minds have been taken over by us.
But
They don't even.
It's negative, though.
It could be
It's
yes.
all negative.
I understand that, but you got to understand they are watching us do it first. And they love us so much. They love our music. They love our movies. They love our dress.
As long
they
as
love
you-
everything
But they
about
don't
us
love
except us.
They don't love us.
They love everything about us except us.
Exactly.
I'm
But
gonna
but
say
still,
this right
it's
here.
almost like a religion. They reading and watching and learning, and they start talking like people in the church talk to each other. They think, these things start to come out their own mouth because they listen to it so much. They're not really understanding that these aren't just words.
But you know what?
This is our identity. This is our culture, our soul being laid out there. They're taking it as cool culture and cool phrases to say amongst each other.
As long as your culture is not uplifting you, all the other races love it. Now, if you was talking about being a father to your son, being responsible for your community, being responsible for your race, they would not play that. As long as you degrading yourself, they think that you are the N-word.
Yeah.
That's what they think.
Well,
of
I mean,
you.
they listen-
So when
they
you
listen
say
to the
it
music.
and listen to it, that reinforces. Yeah, they talking about they want to kill you too. We kill that N. This and that. They love that, and the reason they love that because they want to do it. So guess what they'll do? They'll pay you to say it for them.
Yep.
They'll pay you to say it for them. We back. We had a little technical difficulties, but we was getting into the conversation about other races saying the N-word, and I was explaining to Troy and Brother Billy. I was in a situation where I heard this white guy talking to this other black dude and was saying the N-word and calling him the N-word, and he was responding positive to it, and I got upset. And they was mad at me because I wanted to go to war with him. You feel me? And he was like, oh, no, Ron, he good. I said, no, man, ain't he never good for somebody other than one of us to call us that N-word.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't use it loosely.
Yeah.
You feel me?
Yeah.
And definitely not mixed company. That's
No.
where we never use that mixed company.
No.
Yeah.
Certain things, like say you don't let go out the house. That's one word you never use the mixed company.
These are the things we call being on code.
See?
You have to know how to control the conversation.
Just like a white person We had to check a white lady at my spiritual center because she used the word CP time. No, you can't use CP time.
Yeah.
You can't say CP time. Some black women checked her quick, fast, in a hurry.
Yeah, because it's racist.
Exactly. You can't say CP time.
But when you don't have no race pride, you'll call yourself degrading things, and somehow then allow them to use the N word as a word of endearment.
A term of endearment. Yeah.
No, man.
And being married to an African American doesn't give you a pass.
No.
That does not give you. That don't give you a black card
Some of
because
the
you're married.
biggest races are married to black people.
Yeah.
You feel me? Let me give you another example. I had pit bulls, right? That didn't mean I like other pit bulls. I just like mine.
Right.
I didn't go pet other people's pit bulls.
That's right.
I don't like pit bulls. I just like mine. And a lot of non-blacks that are married to black people, that's what they're.
I like my black. I don't like. I like my
this
black.
one is trained. I got him trained like.
100%. I mean, I think that the pride needs to be there. I think that the line does need to be pushed, but I do like to mix it with some perspective. And that perspective says that these people are under programming too. And so what's being, you have to ask yourself, what's being pushed on them?
Well, I can understand, but also
and what's the agenda behind what's being pushed? And who really wants access to that word?
And we have to correct them, that's all.
No. Who really wants access to that word? Because normally before, I'll put it to you like this to be a little bit more frank. When white society wants access to something, they'll use buffer classes first to get it.
Gotcha, okay.
So they'll make something acceptable amongst the buffer classes. These are other groups outside of ours. And once it becomes acceptable to them, then white society can come in and say, see, you let your Latino brothers get a hold of the word. Now we would like a chance to be able to share in the racial positivity of the N-word. So, you know.
I'm going to give you an example.
That's how it goes, though.
Kim Kardashian, they like black men.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they got a fetish for
they
black
got a
men.
type.
Now, I never heard them say anything negative about an Armenian. Have you, Troy?
No.
Have you, Billy?
No.
They just like black men. But
Half
I never
people
seen
wouldn't
them
even know their work.
Put them down. But we will put our women down when we get with another race. I had a guy that come up here one time, right? And he was like, he was dogging out black women. I said, hey, brother, you're in the wrong shop for that.
Yeah.
I said, look, what you like, that's your business. Because you like that, they don't give you a pass to dog out our daughters, our sisters, our mothers,
exactly.
Other black women. I said, no, man, don't know, I ain't gonna let you do that up in here.
Yeah.
That ain't going down up in here, Billy. Now you can like what you want. That's your business. But just because you with that, don't give you a right to dog our women out now.
100%.
There's bad women in all races.
Right.
They ain't just exclusive, but what they do, they take a minority group of black women and they blow that up. Mm-hmm. You feel me? They make that be the front page of everything.
They do that with all of us, even black men.
Yes.
Women that dog black men. So you had one that dogged you and he was no good. Don't dress me in his clothes.
Yeah, I ain't got nothing to do with that.
Don't dress me in somebody else's clothes.
Yeah, it's the type thing. And it's just a furtherance of the programming that white ice is colder. You know what I'm saying? I mean, one of the first things I remember hearing about is Jack Johnson, the old boxer, and his love
for white women,
for some fair-skinned free time. And you know what I'm saying? And it was highlighted. Now, was he the only brother doing that? No. But they made such a big deal out of it. See, it's part of that program. Is Kanye West the first brother to get with an Armenian girl with a fat booty? I think not. But they made such a big deal out of it because they want us to have a archetype to look to, because that influences us for our own personal dealings, because they know we as people who watch, we love to live vicariously through the celebrities, and we also like to try to emulate them.
Yep. You know what the problem is too? When our black women features show up on a non-black, they glorify it.
Right.
A black woman been having a body for forever, since day one. But when her butt shows up on a non-black, J-Lo, it's so beautiful.
Even the
her
hair.
lips are so...
What about
Go back to Bo Derek and 10. Black women been raised for thousands of years. But not until Bo Derek 10 now became all
That's
beautiful.
what I'm saying. When sisters wear it, it's unruly, it's ghetto, it's savage.
When they showed braids, when Kim Kardashian had them, they're boxer braids. But when you had them...
They're cornrows.
They're cornrows.
Yeah.
When they had
French braid.
French braid.
French braid.
I had a black dude gonna talk about French braid. I said, bro, So, man, I'm not French raised.
Ain't nothing French about a
What
braid.
about dreads? They looked at brothers with dreads, and we know the spiritual significance of brothers in their dreadlocks. Now, not every brother that's walking around with dreads knows the spiritual significance,
Exactly.
so let's not get on that. But when that was what they saw us doing, it was something that the savages and the but then you look around, boy, you see Japanese people, you see the white girls with blonde hair
Trying
and
to dread up.
locks. You know what I'm saying? Young Latino people getting into that movement and trying to emulate that. And it's that appropriation. It's that them without knowing it. Our culture is so influential that they can't run from it. You know, and even when they insult us, it's because of an admiration. It's a backwards admiration.
When they think that they have mastered it, that's when they want to accept it. You got to think about it.
When they properly learn how to emulate it, when they get it down.
Well, see,
Now, one of the big examples of that, break dancing is now an Olympic sport.
yes.
It was looked down upon when we were doing it in the 80s, 90s. Look, what is that? Now that Asians and white boys do it, it's an Olympic sport.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's an art now.
Yeah.
That same behavior, now that they're able to do it, it's an art now.
Yeah.
Same thing with the lips.
Yeah.
When you had it, you had big lips. When they got it, they got full lips.
Right.
You feel me?
Right. Well, look at Chuck Berry and Elvis. They got Chuck Berry on out the way, so Elvis could could take on that mantle and be that rock and roll god. It's that thing. Is when they're ready to come in and take it over, then that's when they get us on out the way.
See, speaking of music and back to Elvis and music, we're gonna bring it back to you. When you listen to, I hear a couple of your songs and they're nice. I like it. I told you about that shit. They tight. It's a passion there, and it's a connection that you can't get unless you go through those type of things. You gotta be connected to that form of oppression, that form of unfairness.
Yeah.
You feel me?
Yeah.
When you look at some of these white rappers and other entertainers, they can't get that. Eminem can never get that type of flow because he has not had the experience that me and you have. When he got caught with that gun, they gave him a pass. If that been me or you, we wouldn't went to jail.
They caught Eminem saying the N-word.
Oh yeah, he was dogging out black women. But I never liked him.
But see, this goes to the conversation about protecting our culture, and especially is a big deal in hip hop because a lot of the white stars had backing by black stars. You don't get an Eminem without a Dr. Dre.
Exactly.
You don't get a Justin Bieber without that whole Usher discovered him, quote unquote. There's these certain ones, and it's like you said, when they're ready to emulate us, when they finally got it down, then they won up to the top of the game. But we co-sign it. I just heard about Rakim, and different rappers giving Eminem such high level of praise, calling him the Muhammad Ali of rap, but this is coming out of our mouths.
Lost.
And even when we in the studio, we in the studio like, you know what I'm saying? And they want to they giving them the beats and they giving them the look, and that's cool if you're working with an artist and you want to help them. But you got to understand that there's an agenda that goes along with it.
Yep.
And so you got to know when you've become a victim of the machine's agenda. And so this isn't a personal shot. This is an observation of how one artist was used to usurp a art form from a whole people to where now he's regarded as the best rapper ever.
Yeah.
This is a problem, but it starts with us. It starts with our ability to say no. Where was the KRS-One? Where was the X-Clan? Where was the Public Enemy to come out and say, no, that's not accepted? Back in the days, like I said, in hip-hop, if there was something we didn't like,
you know what?
You could count on someone to come out and say no. There's no one doing that now because brothers is getting checks behind.
I'm going to go back to the point, manhood and responsibility. Men took responsibility to do that.
It takes a man.
It takes a man. It takes a man to do that.
Give me that quote about the cloth and the fabric.
Me and Ron, we're old school. We're cut from a different cloth, and that fabric's out of production now.
That's a fact. That's a cold fact, and that's exactly what is happening in hip hop.
And we're gonna bring it back, Joe. We're gonna start the factory back up again.
I like that.
It's needed because it's needed. There's nobody to check people. Nobody said no. This ain't no. We ain't gonna let this fly. This is not flying by.
This is one thing I had. I had a young guy. He was telling me Eminem was one of the top 5 of all time. I said, well, man, quote me a verse that he said that's in the top
It
5.
get real interesting when you ask
He
questions.
couldn't tell
like
me that.
Yeah.
I said, well, okay, I can quote Tupac, Biggie, and some of these other rappers that I haven't heard in years.
He
I
not
could go
giving you
word
his
for
list.
word of what they said because I connected to them. It was more than just emulating us.
Exactly.
It was the passion.
It was a realism that resonated with us.
Right.
Yeah.
It was a realism.
Yes.
And it's
So
like
we
that.
can relate
A lot
to
of times when people give you a list like that,
Yeah.
that's somebody else's list
Yes.
that they think
They're-
they
they're
should
par-
listen to.
they're parroting.
So they're trying to go
parroting.
with what they've been taught by someone who they see
Exactly.
Right.
as in a place of authority.
Mm-hmm.
When really, man, if you give your own list, it wouldn't even look like half these people. Like if
No.
I gave you my top 5 list, it would not sound like most people because most people are looking at they weigh commercial
Album
sales and
sales.
impact
Yeah,
and
yeah.
who's famous, who's more famous than another, and
Mm-hmm.
who's more gangster, and they weighing out all these weird things that have nothing to do with the art form and the soul, the messaging, and the overall presentation of this art form of hip hop.
Why do rappers not talk about social issues now? Like I said earlier,
They do.
I have not heard one rapper speak on the Buffalo Massacre.
Those mainstream artists who are silent on these issues are bought and paid for. They are compromised. They know what they're doing. A lot of these people are very smart, brilliant. They're book readers, just like Nip was, but they not like him. They not speaking on. And if they do try to speak on it, they get overly artistic. And then the message is garbled, like Kendrick Lamar. It's so spiritual and so deep. We don't know what you're saying, brother. Like, can we get real clear on this messaging? And that's not a shot. That's my observation. I don't understand what the message is. It's so artful and everybody's dancing and doing weird stuff. What are you trying to say, brother? What are you trying to say?
What's his name? Kid Frost, the Mexican rapper.
Yeah.
I cut his hair now and then, right? He told me his son had did Kendrick Lamar.
Scoop.
Lamar.
Shout out to Scoop. He's a dope producer.
Yeah.
No lie.
He said he had did something. I hear him in Dina.
Yeah.
In Dina.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, and I was saying to myself, he knew, Broadway?
No.
Okay, he knew Broadway. In fact, if you go look at the video, This is for La Raza, Broadway is the only black dude in the whole video. You know what I'm saying? So, Broadway had did the track. He had them on the track or whatever, right? The thing is this right here. When you have non-blacks being able to determine what's important to us, it's not a good look. We should be able to, black people can't determine what's important to Hispanics.
Exactly.
Right.
Or what's important to
Not at
Hispanics.
all.
Or whites or Asians or any other group.
Not at all. That's right.
So no other group should be able to have the influence on us the same way too.
We're the only group that allow other people to do that to us. We're the only group that allow people to do that. The only
You
group
know what I mean?
It starts with us, and a lot of us will allow it for a check.
Yeah.
And that's what it comes down to. 9 times out of 10, there was a brother somewhere who took a check.
Our integrity is paid. You can buy our integrity from us.
Yeah. We lost that.
And you can't argue with that brother when he's taking the check.
But
He's not gonna listen to you when he's like, hey man, you got a check for me? No,
Yeah,
I'm
six-
going to the
yeah,
bank.
6
But
years
you know
behind
what
that first
did
number.
You know what started that platform of selling out? Integration. Integration hurt us more than it helped us. It created a mentality, I want to be like them no matter what position that I be in.
Right.
Now, if you look at the other groups, they infiltrated the system. If you go look at most human resources and most companies, it normally reflects the workforce. If you have mostly Hispanic in your human resource department, guess what your workforce is going to look like? You have mostly Asians, Armenians, or any other group. It's going to reflect the workforce. They're going to make it easier for their people to get in there and get those jobs and opportunities. Now, right here on this street, right here in the back of us, it was over 100 guys worked on this street. I didn't see not one look like me and you. Not one. Not one. Oh, for over a year. Wasn't it about a year, Troy?
About a year.
It's about a year. I didn't see
They
one.
paved it and had repaved, did something on it, had to do it twice.
Yes. I ain't see
Not one black worker, African American worker.
Now,
on the street.
now someone listening is gonna say, well, Ron, it's because the brothers aren't wanting to do that kind of work anymore.
Well, they're
Ron.
getting squeezed out of these.
Tell them the truth, Ron.
That's why you entertainers, you have a responsibility. You have to tell some of your music, Billy. I ain't listened to all your music, but some of your music got to tell these young black guys it's okay to be a plumber. It's okay to be an electrician, a carpenter. It's okay to be a welder.
It is. It is.
You can
You're
make
right.
an honest living, and you can put your kids to school. You can get
You're
your
right.
kids. You can buy a home.
Having
There's people buying
having
homes
a
with
trade, you create a job for yourself.
Yes.
Man,
Eventually, you can
Don't
be your own
be-
boss.
Be
that's
a
a
job-
real message that's
be a
missing
job
from our
maker.
community and
When you
our
have
generation.
when you have a
currently.
trade, you're a job maker, not a job taker.
Yes.
Right.
When you can make a job, you're always making for yourself.
Yes.
But when you're a
Right.
job taker, you're depending on other people. You're not independent unless you have a trade.
And not only just being able to have a trade, you have the integrity that comes along with it. I should be able to trust Billy. If Billy said, "Hey, you know what, Ron, your pipes is so and so, so and so," I should be able to have an emotional connection with you, just like the Jews have with other Jews. You feel me? Now you might have one or two that go astray or whatever, but when a Jew is dealing with another Jew, it's an integrity that they have with one another.
It's a code.
It's a respect for one another.
Code.
I'm here to help you.
It's
I'm
a
not here
code.
to take nothing from you.
We lack code because
We lack unity. We lack
you
pride.
finished my sentence.
We lack pride. The biggest problem in our community is lack of pride, lack of unity.
Yeah. Now, again, in every one of these issues, I see both. Because listen, the one of the main things about slavery and about subjugation of black man is to make us hate ourselves.
Right.
But if you step back, and to a large degree, that has worked. We've saying it. We've been talking about it. But when you step back a little bit more and you say, it has worked some, and then at the same time, there is a spirit amongst us that is creating our own culture against that. We are finding pride in ourselves. We are wearing our braids, and we are wearing our natural hair, and we are dressing in what we want to dress, and living how we want to live. But there is still that element of self-hate. It's like this
But you
this
know what?
dichotomy that 1 minute we got this self-pride and we move, and then
I'ma say
another,
this
and then
right
another
here.
minute we back cooning again.
We're wearing the outside of Africa, but we're not wearing the inside of Africa.
See,
It's hard to do that when you're not inside Africa.
Well,
Because when they come here, they don't like us.
But
to a large degree, they're not looking to hang.
You got to
with us.
remember that they have been socially engineered too.
That's what I'm saying is that engineering is there, and because of it, it creates a division, whether we see it or not. These people don't. Even when you call them black, half the time they'll correct you.
Well, then I have to.
They'll correct you.
Like I'll go back to the fact black has no culture or geographical reference. Call me African American.
Yeah, call me
Use the word
See,
African.
I disagree with that.
I don't like you call me black. Call me African
Get a map. Show me black on the map. What has black contributed to the world?
Rock and roll,
No,
hip hop, blues,
African-American.
jazz.
African American.
No, that's black.
That's African American.
Let me tell you why.
A port of origin.
Let me tell you why.
You came from somewhere.
Let me tell you why.
Okay, go ahead.
If you want to be African, you'll find out quickly a lot of them ain't fucking with you, or they don't rock with you. A lot of Africans don't rock with you. In fact, like I told you, when they come over here, they get a talking to about us. Now, and that's not a case in every time in every way, but to a large degree, we are finding out that there are huge differences in the way that we are perceived by those who we would love to admire and get to know something from. And they perceive us in a way to where they don't want to give us knowledge. They don't want to come to us.
How do we perceive them? How do some of us perceive them? I said this earlier, and I'll say it again. We were not fortunate enough to be born in Africa, but we must be smart enough to let Africa be born within us.
Right.
Understand the greatness of our people.
But the black man has been on this land for a very long time.
Yeah, well,
for a very long time. We're talking about prior to this to the
Billy,
transatlantic slave trade that they like to talk about.
Manu Moose's brother.
Yeah.
Came to America over 1,000 years before Columbus.
Now, see, that's long enough for us to be a different people. Yes, we are related, but we are a different people. That's why I made the allusion earlier off mic. We were talking about you say you can take the lion out of Africa, but you can't take Africa out the lion. Well, this is not the lion here. This is jaguars and panthers. In Africa, they have the panther. In America, they have the jaguar. It's the same species, but the way it has adapted to its environment is different. It looks different. Some of them panthers got spots if you look close. because they come from the same family. And some of them Jaguars are mostly black because they come from the same family. But it has to do with adaptation, and it has to do with the way you evolve in your surroundings and your environment. The black man has been here in this land long, in my opinion, long enough to be his own man without a cosign from any other continent. This is us here. Now, some of us came from there more recently, and the differences between us, those 1,000 years, have made so much difference. And then with the involvement and the meddling and interloping of the colonizers, it took us in a whole other way to where there was a time where there was a Mexum, and then there was Africa, and there was these places that were in communication with each other and in code with each other, but with the colonizers, with the propagandization, with enslavement over hundreds of years, you get this changing of a people and a wiping of the memory and an amnesia. And before long, you're looking at a whole different thing.
Billy, I'm going to introduce you to something called DNA memory. Our DNA has memory.
I believe it.
They cannot be erased.
I believe it.
I like the term African American because, yes, we built this country. We were here long before any European came here.
Right.
So we are African American. We started there, and we were the first ones here.
There's a lot of people that can say that, though. African American is a very wide. Elon Musk is an African American.
Well, everybody, if we want to go there, that's stretchy. Everybody on this planet has the African genotype in their DNA.
See, that's too much for me. That's too much inclusion for me. That's why I like black, because nobody wants to be that.
No.
That's why I like the word nigga, because nobody wants to be that. I want my own spot. I don't want you to want my thing. I want my thing. I want my thing to myself.
But they want that too.
They want it because we made it look good.
They want it
because despite our dysfunction and our low frequency sometimes activities, we made this black thing and this nigga thing. I'm gonna use that word. I know it's offensive, but a lot of us have made this thing look so good, whether it was deception or not, and whether it was the fire was fanned by the white man. We made it look so good, and it's become so immersive that people who are not even us, they think they are a nigga. They call each other that because they think they are that.
It's just like the scraps are. It's just like the scraps that slaves given hog intestines. Call them chitlins. Chitterlings are now a delicacy. You can find chitterlings packaged in supermarkets.
Entrails.
It's
entrails.
It's now a delicacy.
Okay. Since you brought up Elon Musk, right? Okay.
It tastes good though when you hook it up right.
Elon Musk, he may have been born in Africa, but he's not a native African.
Well,
now hear me out now. Okay. Number two, when Ice Cube introduced the descendants of slave, that wipes out Elon Musk, and it's another female. She's from Africa. I forgot her name, but she was born in Africa. But we know they're not native Africans. Native Africans look like me and you.
Right.
If I put you in Africa right now, Billy, I couldn't tell you from another African.
Right. I know that because I've been over there, and when they seen me and I seen them, we knew what was up.
Yeah.
They know, but and I know in my heart, but at the same time, Elon Musk's parents may have immigrated to Africa and raised him there. That wasn't our parents coming over. Our parents, forefathers, and so on and so forth, some of them were here in this land predating slavery. We always think of the black man's existence in America at the time of slavery and beyond. But what we never think, and then when we think about that, we jump to Africa. We say, well, we don't like that slavery stuff. What was they doing in Africa? Stop, slow down. Because before you get to jump back to Africa, there's hundreds of years here in this land. What were we doing here? That's what needs to be brought out. But when you focus on African American, you lose that thousands of years here in America. What happened in that thousands of years could be groundbreaking if we get into it and if we talk about it and if we think about it. We may not be African Americans. We may be American American.
Okay, check this out.
You talk about African,
and that's not me waving a red, white, and blue flag either. I'm staying real black with it.
On the level of consciousness that you're on, most of our people are not on that level of consciousness. They're not aware of what you are aware of. They don't read.
Yeah.
They're looking for the enemies to empower them. The enemy is not going to empower them.
Yeah.
That's out. So the reality of things is we have to meet our people where they're at and try to bring them up to the level. And that's why we have to use music. We have to use entertainment. We have to use all forms of education that we have exposable to our resource, available to us. You know what I mean? So when I see us as African people, we constantly post negative things about ourselves. We make mockery of ourselves. The comedians attack our own people. We are contributing wholeheartedly against our own group's development for the empowerment.
Because we have become outcome based. We just look at the outcome. You can get a lot of views on social media when you put up a fight. Somebody getting shot, stabbed, somebody twerking,
And a lot of that
somebody
comes
acting
from,
a fool.
A lot of that comes from lack of knowledge of self. We don't have the mental equivalent of our greatness.
Right.
Because we weren't taught that.
There's a lot of incentivization. I don't even know the word. There's a lot of that's been incentivized to depreciate our culture. When you look at a comedian like Chris Rock, and we know that a lot of his demographic is white people, love Chris Rock.
Oh yeah.
He's one of the more famous ones who have come out against his own people. You know, with that whole bit he did about the difference between niggas and black people. You know, I love black people, but niggas. You know, and that's that's one of the earlier things that I caught on to. I was like, why are you doing this? Why are you saying this now? And then after that, you know, you watch a show like The Office with a guy like Steve Carell playing the character Michael Scott. He does the Chris Rock bit, and the joke there is that it was so pervasive and was so catchy what Chris Rock did. White people thought it was cool to go around saying the joke. I like black people, but niggas, you know. And so we, like you said, we do that to ourselves, but the incentivization is there. You know what I'm saying? We get that, you get them views, you get that check. And so we have got that, we have to start, we got to have the drop squad. Before we can start getting them corrected, we got to go through our own backlog and start dropping coons.
Exactly.
Left and right. And before we come out and say no to them, we have to say no to us.
We have to reintroduce the word integrity. My life you can take, but my integrity never. It's not for sale.
Yeah.
Integrity.
Yeah. Only problem is for a lot of brothers, they're going to say, well, brother, you can't cash integrity.
Yeah. Well, you know what?
Black cash that at the bank.
I can look my children in the face.
I think what happens is we fall in love with European wealth more than we love ourselves. So we're willing to do anything to get that bag. I mean, anything.
And I think, like you said, that comes from integration.
Yes.
And because we were encouraged to idolize the lifestyle that the white society had created. The white picket fence, the dog, and the 2 to 3 kids or whatever. And we wanted that same ideal life, and we watched their programming on television and listened to it on the radio. And and then the times when we created our own, like with Black Wall Street, they would come and muscle us out in those early stages.
Right.
And the government did that.
Those were formative times for us as a people. When we got our own thing, we were muscled out of it. And so what were we left with? Their thing. And we were forced into that what is the square peg into the round hole. You know what I'm saying? And that has been bad for us because we have not created that inner identity of what we do here. You know?
Let me ask you a question. We're gonna get ready to wrap.
We're still learning. We're still learning as a people. That's the other thing I want to say is we're still learning. And right now there's a movement where black people are really beginning to come to an understanding of who we are and our lineage here. We have got to complete the understanding of those 1,000 years in America or more. We have got to we got to have that in the history books before we go look at Shaka Zulu. because there was stuff happening here too. So we got to know about that. Where are our historians to tell us about that? I think that will help us great.
Let me ask you this question.
300,000 years ago, everybody on all 7 continents was black or African. Everybody.
Let me ask you a question.
Find black people on every continent.
As a hip hop artist, what entertainers, rappers, white, because you expanding your resources and your talent. As a rapper right now, out there hip hop performing, what would you say is a good positive image for us as black men that you would see right now?
Oh, a rapper that's out?
Besides yourself.
Besides
Well,
yourself.
yeah, thank you, my brother. Thank you.
Besides yourself.
Well, you know the what's the name? Killer Mike.
Okay.
That's one of our brothers who's come out in his, not just in his words and in his speeches, but in his music. I like what Ice Cube is doing and what he is attempting to do. And we think of Ice Cube, we remember him from being the gangster rapper and then morphing into the movie guy, right? One thing about Cube though is, outside of all that entertainment stuff, O'Shea Jackson, he's a real black man, and he's a real thinking black man, and he's and he was raised right. And so I think that makes a big difference.
Okay, since you bring
I can't name anybody my age or younger, you know, or coming out right now that's new. None of the young Lils or any of them people that got any real message. Maybe a what's one boy's name? Young boy.
NBA.
There's one brother, man. I can't remember his name.
These young rappers, man. I don't know what they sing.
J. Cole be on his stuff. You know, a lot of people get behind Kendrick Lamar's messaging. If they, I guess they can decipher it better than me. You know what I'm saying? There's young positive men out there that are speaking. But again, if where are we looking to? Are we looking to the mainstream? You're not gonna find it there.
Okay.
And we have to stop doing that, black people. The only rappers ain't the ones you hear on the radio and see on the, you know what I'm saying, on the biggest stages. Them ain't the only ones. There's a lot of us out here. Yep. You got to broaden your horizon. You want that message? Find us. We out here. Now, do the message need to be stronger and louder? Yes. We got to work on that. We need that authority that Chuck D spoke with, and that Brother Jay spoke with, and that KRS-One spoke with. We need that authority. And I do think our brothers are speaking towards issues, but they're not speaking with an authoritative voice. It's more like they're trying to reason with the world about things, and they're not telling them, like you said, speak truth as power.
Speak truth as
that
power.
was the difference. I think that's the difference is there's no one speaking truth as power.
Exactly.
We do a lot of speaking truth to power.
When you say speak truth to power, I mean, you're saying the power is there, it's not here.
That's right.
Speak truth as your power.
Yeah.
And knowledge is power.
Do you think Ice Cube, before he can go on this pro-black or pro-empowerment stage he's at in life, do you think he should apologize on how much he contributed to the downfall of us African Americans, especially here in LA? You know, because hear me out. He did three things in his music. He glorified gangbanging, selling drugs, and degrading black women. Do you think before he can move forward and people take him serious, apologize for how much he contribute to the degrading of us as a race of people?
I don't think that he would say, I don't think he would like the word glorify. I don't think he would ever say he glorified it.
What would you call
especially with Cube.
He rapped about it?
I think that there was an old term back in those early days where it was like a hood journalist.
Okay.
And he was basically describing the reality he saw around him. And this, I'm from California, and I've been in LA all my life, and I know that's a reality. What Ice Cube talked about, them strawberries, them, you know what I'm saying? The dope boys,
it's
you know what I'm saying?
Talking about
Cube
it
was
glorifying.
This is true. Now, I mean,
when I came out here,
you have to make it entertaining. So, I mean, I think that's where people get the glorification idea from, because he made it so entertaining, you had to play it again. And you wanted to sing along. There's a thin line between glorification and just really doing your journalism in an entertaining way. And there always is some sensationalism. So did he sensationalize?
Yeah,
that's not glorifying. That's basically putting the Hollywood shine on it to draw your listener in and make it more palatable to the widest audience. When you go to glorify, I don't think that not Cube, there are some that have, but Cube, no, I wouldn't say glorify for him. I think, did he highlight some things? Yes. Did he sensationalize things? Yes. But do you have to do that in rap? Yes. To get it off. If you're going to talk about that topic, it's no different than Die Hard. It's no different than Colors. It's no different than any movie. Does Sylvester Stallone have to have to
No,
apologize?
I
Does
think-
Arnold Schwarzenegger,
Let's go this right here.
Robert De Niro, do
When
they
you
have to
don't
apologize?
When you don't have a balance of representation of you, if I'm only seeing one side of being a black
You're
man,
right.
okay.
I think Cube, but I think this is great. Cube has done a great job of showing multiple sides as his
now,
career has evolved.
As an adult,
But
and he
no,
knows
earlier
his responsibility.
His career's been evolving since day one. If you remember, he got into movies really quickly
he
early,
really-
and some of the movies had messages, higher learning. Even
Really?
Boys in the Hood had a real solid message about what was going on. And so these were the types of projects that Cube has been a part of throughout his career. There's been ups and downs, he's had to play this Hollywood game.
But
He's had to play
he's
this
shown
game.
his evolution. His evolution
He
is
has
very good.
evolved.
He has evolved.
And if you pay attention to him from start to finish, you see the evolution of a black man. Even if he wasn't the gangster that was doing the
They
activities,
said by-
he was just the one observing. But he went from a place of observing and reporting on that to getting into something else and then to showing us who he is. And I
I'll
think
say this
now
right
we're starting
here.
to see O'Shea Jackson as a man come
They
out.
say by 2050, no, take it back. By 2030, the black median income is going to be zero. That's what they say. That's what all statistics are saying. By 2030, the black median income will be zero. So now,
Look around you.
Like you said, them brothers
We're
wasn't
not,
out there.
We're not in the workplace.
Them brothers wasn't
we're not
out there.
in the human resource
They was squeezed out. They was marginalized.
And we're not learning
Now,
trades.
When I first came, I've been in LA for about 35 years, right? So when I first came out here, gang banging was a part of your manhood.
Right.
That's how they associated being a man, a young black African American male was gang banging.
Yes.
That's a part of your masculinity. Is
100%.
fighting and not being responsible, not owning a job, not trying to own something. It's being able to sell dope or fight or represent some hood.
Right.
You feel me? That's how I got it. Because I was in LA. In fact, I was working over there while Nipsey got killed in the 80s. Right there, it was just be a barbershop right there off a corner of Slauson and Crenshaw, right there.
Right.
It was called, what's the name of that damn shop I worked there? Magic Shears. That was the name. It was right in the corner. You know, all hell was breaking loose through there.
Yes.
And I seen a lot of young black brothers, and I had a conversation with dude. I said, man, you know what, man? I said, man, y'all all fighting each other. I said, man, where I came from, we had an enemy, but he didn't look like us. He didn't look like
The
me
funny
and
thing
you.
about being out here in California in these big melting pot type
I
cities
said,
is
y'all got more. I said, if you want to see some poverty, come to Arkansas. You see some poverty. I said, y'all have more violence, but we didn't have violence on that level. It's there now.
with each other.
Yeah,
With
it's
each other,
there
with
now
each other.
Yeah.
because Hollywood has influenced these young dudes, and now
The warfare-
they're bleeping up to this hype stuff.
the
You know what
warfare
I mean?
was different on us out here. Like you said, where you come from, the warfare was you saw it had a face, a clear face. You knew
Yes. You knew what
where
your
it was
enemy
coming
looked like.
from, and you knew what
And
they
he
did.
didn't
Yeah,
look like you.
Exactly. Out here, they brought in the crack, and the kingpins were the proxy for the white man's war on us. They incentivized them, empowered them, weaponized them, and made them the chieftains. And their main objective was pushing that product and getting that money. And so gangbanging took a turn in the crack epidemic and in the 80s. Gangbanging, we know, started, like you said, about manhood, about brotherhood, about protecting the neighborhood. And there were a lot of honorable things with gangbanging if we really go back into its history. And of course, with all the dastardly deeds and all that other stuff that's there. But I think in the 80s and in the time that Cube, as an example, was coming up and documenting what was going on, that world, man, that wasn't what had come before him as far as how black men were before the crack epidemic took over. And I'm not trying to hang everything on crack, but that was a big deal, especially out here and throughout the whole nation. But man, in California, whoo!
Oh yeah. Oh,
You know what I'm
man.
saying? So
And then
it just created a different monster in the gangbang world.
You had what was that? The chief of police, Bill Gates. Not Bill Gates, but what's that joker name? He was taking a batter ram and knocking people.
Yeah, I
off
know
the
you're talking
house.
about. Yeah,
Daryl Gates.
Daryl Gates,
That's who he was. Daryl Gates.
Yeah.
Man, he was off the chain.
Yeah, it became warfare.
Yes.
It was warfare.
He
A
had
battle ram
Troy,
is an
you went out
instrument of
there.
warfare.
He
It's a
had
tank.
military tanks with a big thing in the front
I
of
saw
them.
one on
Knock
the news.
your whole
I saw
front
one on the
end
news.
off your house.
Knock your front wall in.
It was
Yes.
sophisticated guerrilla warfare tactics that they had fashioned and honed in
Destroy
Afghanistan.
the home. Yes.
And they
in the
brought it to the black
Ukraine,
community, to the black
and
community.
in all the places where they were having proxy wars, when using the natives of the land, what were they called, the Taliban, to
Yes.
fight the Russians.
Yes.
Those tactics were employed against us, and they would do the same thing with them: drugs and guns. They were weaponizing drugs and guns, and so same thing was brought here. We had no clue what to do with it or how to respond, because all of a sudden we getting money now, hand over fist.
I don't know if you remember.
You know what I'm
this.
saying? And it became a different thing, man. We were infants in terms of dealing with those amounts of money, and what it did to brothers. It just, whoo, man, I can't.
Well, see, I don't know if you remember this. In 1989, I think it was 89, it was a train derailment in Watts
With a gang of guns.
with a gang of guns.
So-
I'm talking about military stuff.
Just happened to break
Just
down.
happened right there in Watts.
That's warfare. So
AKs, I mean,
Yes.
the works.
Yes.
Everything that you wanted to start a war with,
Yes.
they had it.
So effectively in a lot of the black community, we are a people who are recovering from multiple incursions, multiple offenses, multiple travesties and tragedies against us. We are always trying to, and when you are steadily recovering, you're never growing.
Exactly.
You're
Right.
never
Right.
progressing
That's true.
and
You're
developing.
in recovery mode.
You're still recovering. And right now, we are just barely, as a people, starting to get into a place where we can focus on more than just recovering. Now we can sit back and really assess the problem. And I
Right.
think that's why a lot of
Right.
people
That's what's
are
up.
waking up. That's why we're having this conversation, because now we're in a place where, okay, wait a minute, okay, now we can see, now we have to pick up the pieces, but it starts with the education of our youth and getting them to understand and take those seeds of
Well,
knowledge about
you know,
being a man, having a trade, being honorable, having
We gotta
integrity, and having
redefine-
black pride or pride in your culture, whatever you want to call it.
We got to redefine what it is to be a man, as a black man.
As a
an
black
African
man, yes.
And you can't be a man unless you can be self-sufficient. That's number one. So you have to attach responsibility to manhood. They have to go hand in hand.
Yes.
when
And
it
you know
comes to
what,
us.
man? I thank God for Nipsey Hussle. Because I never before him, and I give some credit to cats like Jay-Z, because he was one of the first brothers that we were seeing putting on a suit, regardless of what his content was. He was putting on a suit. He was going into the boardroom, regardless of whether it was a real or a fake position. He was going in there and he was doing things. But for the gang influenced young man, for the inner city kids, what Nipsey represented was the potential for elevation from that place. He was the character study of what it looks like for someone who come from a gangbanging background to turn it around. Now, it's only a wonder why his life was cut short in the middle of that transition, because he hadn't completed it. He was on his way.
Yeah.
And we were watching it happen, and it was stopped in the middle. It's only a wonder as to why that was and how that truly
Right.
happened once you analyze all the pieces of what was going on in his life and who his opposition truly was.
Yeah, that's real talk.
So, to a large degree, that part of our culture and community still has to go beyond where Nipsey ended up, into
Right.
the entrepreneurship that he talked about, into building your own legacy, being self-sufficient that he was beginning to speak on. We still have to take that leap past that point.
Let me
But
ask
it's
you a
going to
question.
have to come from one of them sparking it and speaking it, because anyone outside of that, if you ain't from a hood, you never gangbang, you can't speak to them people, man, and expect that they're going to believe you and listen to
Exactly.
you, really, because you have to come from what they come from. It's just the way that it is.
Let me ask you
You know
a
what I'm
question,
saying?
though, Billy. And then we're gonna wrap this thing up. We
Yeah.
gotta get on up out of here. But look, as a hip hop artist right now in the whole rap industry, and who have you seen that outside yourself that's taking on that responsibility that Nipsey had? Now, don't get me wrong. I'm from a different era from Nipsey. You know, these are younger guys from me and Troy's era, and I agree with you. Nipsey, he wasn't quite finished gangbanging. You know what I'm saying? He had 1 foot in, he had 1 foot out.
That foot was on its way.
But check this out. I saw the books that he was reading. You can't read those type of books and still remain the same Negro.
Yeah.
You just can't.
And then when you listen to what his plans for the future were,
yes,
you saw
give him that credit. I give him that.
And sometimes when we go on these interviews and when we're evolving, young brother, if you're listening, don't say everything you know. Don't say everything you're thinking. Don't say everything you're planning, because they listening.
Yep.
And if you are that one, and clearly Nipsey was in that position, boy, he was in that spot, and they knew. And he was the one that had to be removed. He was the piece that had to be removed from the table, man. Regardless of how you believe it happened, it was a tremendous, unfortunate occasion for us to lose him because of what he represented. And to answer your question, no, I don't see anyone.
I think
there's no one clearly in that position that's taking the lead. There's a couple of guys headed there, but no one has popped out in front. And no one has the ability to communicate. See, in order to be like Nipsey, you got to be able to communicate the messaging as well.
Right.
You can't just have it in the music and be artistic with it. You got to be able to communicate, get on that mic, and say some powerful things to people. There's so many quotables from Nipsey of him just talking, just off the cuff. He had that ability to communicate these words. And some of us, man, we hate a dictionary. We hate to learn how to speak properly. Anybody come talking proper, we want to say they talking white. And you drop a college word, they get upset.
Nipsey was the second Tupac. I think he was on his way to be the second Tupac. And the reason I say that,
no, I think he had filled that spot. He was on his way somewhere else. He was on his way because Tupac was still thugging. He was still thugging.
Nipsey was still.
He was on his way though. Tupac, we saw him going into Hollywood, and we saw
Tupac
him
was
with
younger.
And he was
Tupac
getting with
was
the
26.
nation. Yes, that's right. Yes.
Nipsey, what?
He
30,
was getting with the nation.
He was 31 or something.
And but there was no. The press wasn't as much. Like with the thing about today with Nipsey, the internet is so powerful. We got to see everything he was touching and speaking, and the STEM classes he was talking about, all those different little interviews. We got to see so much of what his mind was at that we didn't get from Pac, because Pac was under attack still. He didn't have like Nipsey was living, and he was competing, and he was up against things, but Pac was fighting for his life. I mean, them people were still coming after him with a case. He was still gonna have to fight a case. Yeah. So he was a long way away from even where Nipsey ended off at, to me, as far as the communicating the message, the getting the minds of the people ready for the next step. For us as a people to go into owning ourselves, owning our culture, our identity, and being self-sustaining as a people and entrepreneurial. And so there's no one. I defy someone to give me a name of the guy who's leading the charge in that direction.
No.
There's no one there. And we're at a tremendous deficit in that area. And so
I think I'm talking to the guy that can talk that talk. I'm talking to him right now because Billy, I hear your flows. They're nice. I mean, even the R&B, you can sing. I mean, I was like, oh shit, Billy can sing too.
Yeah,
you know what I'm
saying?
You know, some people are blessed with vocals, plus they can rap, and plus they can do some other things. I think you would. You know, you told me you was working on like some show right now, right? Yeah,
we got a lot of things coming, man. A lot of projects coming. A lot of like you said, I'm getting into acting, and so we got some videos that I've appeared in coming out. There's some TV shows, some commercials. You'll be seeing me doing some things, and a lot of new music as well.
So but it's on you.
This is true, but at the same time, for what we're looking for, my background doesn't cover that. I come from the world of entertainment. I don't come from the hood. I don't claim any affiliation, and so I can't speak to those things and be heard with that same
receptivity.
Yes, as somebody who comes from, you got to speak that language. You got to be dripped in that that thing that the bangers have. When you come from it, they know it, they smell it, and then when you can evolve, it's powerful. If you can, but you have to be able to take us with you on the ride, articulate the journey, tell us about it. Go on your Instagram, go on these interviews. Don't just talk about the thoughts and the twerking and the bottle popping and the who got shot and who's fighting who. Tell them about the companies a little bit. Tell them that about the trades. Like you said, these are things that do need to be talked about. I think my position, I think now I can focus in on being a mentor to those guys that we want to change. I think I can come alongside them and speak some things to them and just try to encourage. But mostly I think my role needs to evolve into speaking to our people as a group and speaking to the codes that we need to keep and those overall messages to us as a whole of evolving, upliftment, and raising our frequency. I think I would like to try to focus on those things going forward with my music and stuff.
Well, look, Billy, we finna wrap this thing up, man. Yeah. It's a great interview. Tell us your album one more time, Bill.
Yeah, go check out the album Abundance. It's 12 strong tracks. I got a bunch of singles out right now as well, and videos to boot. I got mad videos. You can check me out at You Gotta Love Billy Dee on Instagram. That's @ You Gotta Love Billy Dee. Just like you see it in your mind, YOU, Gotta Love Billy Dee. Or just look up I Am Billy Dee. All together, one word, I Am BILLYDEE. And you'll see the whole Billy Dee movement. And you can grow with me. You can evolve with me because I'm still growing and evolving. I'm still learning from great brothers like Ron and Troy. And we're going to get there. We're going to get there as a people. And we're going to get there as long as we can be on code. We got to be with each other and we got to stand for something.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right, man. We're going to wrap this thing up.
And just remember, speaking truth works. So the truth known anywhere is known everywhere. Speak our truth as power.
As power. I like that. I learned a lot here today, brothers. Thank you so much.
All right.